problem with the right a lot of times is we always follow the narratives of the left. We let them tell us the stories, and we've been beating this dead horse for weeks now. Why can't we just stop and start talking about what we want to talk about and have them follow us instead of us follow them?
I think the chief reason is because the deck is stacked against us. Because the corporate media is so large and funded so predominantly by corporate interests that it's tough to suffocate that noise and talk about what we want to. I mean, gosh, Caroline Levitt would be happy to talk about what we want to talk about every day, but she can't. But when there's only one guy in the room who's...
Doesn't Donald Trump just tweet and set the narrative? I feel like what you're saying is actually contrary to the reality.
It's a tug of war. I would agree with you because we have talked about it before that I've said in the past, we need to start telling them what the story is. And we've been increasingly doing it. I think this election, the podcast presidency, was the inflection point where this is a tug of war. So Signalgate versus Maryland Man hoax is a good example of this. Well, actually, they ran face first into that on accident. But see how they're trying to shift back to Pete Hegseth? It's an old story. Signalgate was a month ago. Yeah. Like, we're over this. This news cycle has moved on. But they initially tried to make us care about a circumstance not worth caring about. Did you know that a journalist was accidentally given access to partial information related to strikes in Yemen? No times, no targets, no locations, no known weapons. Vehicles, yes. And I'm sorry, I should say partial times, but without location. And by all means, you can criticize it. But journalists get access to this information all the time. So, like, what's the story? They desperately tried to make us care about that. And we just walked away from it for the most part. We did talk about it for sure. Yeah. But so I would say this. If you track the news cycle and look at the corporate press, they talked about it for about a week and a half longer than we did. It was nuts how many like panels they were doing on it. It was kind of funny.
Well, yeah, this has been... Like I said, it's a feature, not a bug. If you go all the way back to the French Revolution, you got Marat and like the guys running the papers. Once they realized, hey, we can turn on this outrage machine and rile up the sans-culotte to go, storm the Bastille or whatever, they've never turned it off. And that's the lesson the left has learned that we're just starting to figure out, I think, on the right, where we can set the narrative if we have Trump and the White House tweeting about it, if we've got a few pointed media companies that are thoughtful about it. And this was the inflection point in this election where I think we're starting to get the hang of it.
I think that's right.
I do want to just add as a quick aside before we move on is Harry Sisson tried coming after me. He said, Tim Pool cried about President Zelensky not wearing a suit when he met with Trump. But this is how Tim showed up to the White House today. Zip-up jacket and a beanie. Maybe he shouldn't be such a hypocrite.
Did you meet Trump?
When I met Trump, I wore a suit.
Yeah.
And I went to a very nice clothing store in West Palm Beach, and they actually instructed me that the beanie was correct for the suit that I was wearing. And I laughed and I said, let's go. They explained to me that they actually do sell hats. And I said, but this is not formal, right? Would this be considered rude? And they're like, no, it's perfectly fine. And I was like, really? And they were like, yes, of course. And they had similar hats, but I was like, all right, I'm going to wear it.
Most of the talking points that you're hearing from the left, especially people like Hassan and like Harry Sisson, it's just a vehicle for the ad hominem, right? It's not about, there's no substantive criticism. It's just a vector of attack so that way they can insult Tim personally because they have no substance. They can't say, oh, you're wrong about the media. You're wrong about your question. The premise of your question was wrong. They can't do that. So they just have to say, well, look at how dumb his hat is. Look at how dumb his clothes are, blah, 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 blah. It's literally got no substance.
That was my response. Who wants to read it?
To be fair, it's a cool hoodie.
What I actually responded saying, I wasn't meeting with the president. When I met with the president, I did wear a suit. And this is, I was asked before, it's like, hey, you're going, should I get a suit jacket or something? I'm like, for the press briefing? I was like, I'm not dressing up for these people. And some were saying, yeah, but what about Caroline Levitt, disrespecting her? And I'm like, yeah, calm down. It's fake nonsense. If you're coming, when Zelensky went to the World Economic Forum, he wore a suit. That was before the war. But regardless, now he shows up to Trump and he's dressed down. And Trump didn't really care that much, but he did get criticized for that. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.